Well, as promised, I'm just going to be making sure I react to this one. Shatterline, it's a ton of fun. Initial thoughts and impressions. This is by the exclusive Ace. I'm going to be subscribing to this guy. We will see what we can find on this one. This is not exactly a definitive guide. It's just his reaction to the game and how he's actually been able to receive it. So yeah, let's give it a watch.
What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I'm going to be talking about the game that is going to bridge the gap for me up until the release of Modern Warfare 2, and this is Shatterline.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2 is still on its pre-release status. However, the multiplayer has already been released and it's already available. However, for those who, if I'm correct, it's still in the beta process, but it will be releasing in, hold on, let's see, October 28th, yeah, that's right. The date for the release of Modern Warfare 2, including its campaign, is on October 28th. But those who actually get to the release, those who are able to buy it on pre-release are going to be able to play the campaign a week early before the actual release of the entire game. So yeah. So this is a good. Shatterline is a good game to play to pass the time, at least before the Modern Warfare 2 release. So I think I get why exclusive bases were actually eager to actually play that game. This game, Shatterline, is a reminder of what Modern Warfare is and how Warzone actually operates. I'm still in the process of downloading Warzone because I want to play it too, so yeah.
This is a game I've been meaning to check out for a little while, but I haven't really had a chance to dive in and check it out until just this week. And
Wait, how
to check out for a little while, but I haven't really had a chance to dive in and check it out until just this week. And it turns out I'm having a great time with it, and therefore I wanted to make a video just sort of spreading the awareness about this game. This is not a sponsored video, even though it may kind of sound like it, but I'm genuinely just excited to sort of spread the word on Shatterline and get it out there in more people's hands, because it is a free-to-play game. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's on PC only, so you can get that on Steam. The devs have confirmed that they're working on console versions of the game, and they're expecting to release it in February for PlayStation platforms. So that's good news, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. And another thing I wanted to mention here that may be a bit limiting to some of you guys that watch me, the controller support right now is also not great. Now, it does support controllers natively. You can just plug a controller into your PC, the game will pick up on it, and you can play. But even as somebody that's grown up primarily as a controller player with FPS games, I am far better with a mouse and keyboard in this game. And while I did dabble with a controller a little bit just to see what it felt like, it didn't go over very well in a lot of situations, at least. Like, I was still able to kind of hold my own, but there were so many situations where I just felt like I was drunk or something. I couldn't hit my own, but there were so many. Didn't go over very well in a lot of situations, at least. Like, I was still able to kind of hold my own, but there were so many situations where I just felt like I was drunk or something. I couldn't hit my shots. So while you can use a controller, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if you're at least moderately okay with using a mouse and keyboard. But with those limitations out of the way, the first part I want to touch on, but I didn't really dive too deep into, I just sort of dabbled with it, checked it out. This is the PvE experience, and with this one, it's a co-op mode, and you just sort of push from objective to objective, and every time you complete an objective, you gain some power-ups in the game to be used for that particular match, and then you also gain rewards and XP for every objective that you complete. This is pretty basic and self-explanatory. Like I said, I'm not as interested in this. I'm primarily focused on the PvP stuff, so let's dive into that a little bit. And the first thing to point out is going to be the operatives. So this is kind of like a hero shooter, at least to some degree, where each operative will have their own special abilities, equipment, as well as an ultimate weapon or ability that they can charge up over a game. However, at least as far as I'm aware, all characters seem to have the same size of a hitbox and the same amount of health. And to me, I personally really like that. I'm not a big fan of hero shooters where everybody's got different health values and hitboxes and all that kind of stuff. I like general gunfights to be a level playing field, and then it's fine to have certain abilities and gadgets on top of that. So in a lot of ways, coming from a Call of Duty player's perspective, I kind of liken this to Black Ops 4, where it's got some hero shooter elements, but it's not a full-on hero shooter. As for the map design, it's very arena style, very deliberate design choices were made for this. Doesn't feel like you're necessarily in like a realistic environment, and instead it seems to be balanced primarily with gameplay in mind first, which I love. Also, a big thing I noticed right away when I started playing, at least with respawn game modes, the spawns seem pretty intuitive right up front. I was having no issue figuring out at least the general area that the enemy team was spawning at any given time. And while there were a few questionable spawns here or there, generally speaking, it was really refreshing to play an experience where the spawns had some predictability to them, because I almost always knew where to go to find a fight.
How does this guy do it? God damn.
Wanted to find that fight. As for the gunplay, it feels great in my opinion. The handling seems really quick. It doesn't feel like super clunky or anything. There's definitely some twitchier elements to this that really rewards people that are able to snap on a target very quickly and stay on target. And for those of you that don't like jump shotting like crazy, you can't really jump shot effectively in this game. It will pull you out of aiming down sight if you try to jump. However, the sliding seems to be really effective. You might not see it much in the gameplays you're watching because it took me a while to realize just how powerful the sliding is. But if you do decide to check this game out, sliding is definitely the way to go. And another thing you've probably noticed while watching the gameplay is the visibility is not a problem in this game because enemies literally glow red for you, so you'll always be able to pick them out. This is a super arcadey sort of style. They're not going for like full-on realism or anything with this, and I personally really like that. It's not about playing hide and seek or anything. Instead, it's about shooting the other people and them shooting you. As for the progression systems, based on what I know so far with my fairly limited experience, I did just get into this game for the first time this week. It looks like you have different tiers of weapons, and once you earn a certain amount of XP from any weapon within tier 1, then that allows you to unlock tier 2. And then you have to earn a certain amount of weapon XP from any weapon in those tiers in order to unlock tier 3, and so on. It just keeps going from there. And it's also worth noting that you earn in-game currency for playing in matches, and you can use this to buy items in-game in the order that you want, assuming you've at least got that tier unlocked. So once I unlock tier 2 here, for instance, you can pick any one of the guns in tier 2 and spend your in-game currency on it to unlock that, and you choose the order of that. As for the weapon customization, it's pretty basic. We've got a few attachments it looks like you can put on your guns, and the attachments seem to be fairly simple. They tell you exactly what they do to the gun with percentages, which is nice to see, and they all seem to be pretty much straight buffs to the gun as well. It's not upsides and downsides and trying to balance that. It's much more basic and just straight to the point, which I do like as well. Now, the final thing to touch on here are the different game modes that we have for PvP. And at the moment, we only have 4. The first one is Conquest, which is essentially Hardpoint from Call of Duty. We've got Escort, where you have to escort a payload from one side of the map to the other. This is typically played on a very linear sort of a map, so one team's attacking, one team's defending. We've got Demolition, which is a non-respawn round-based game mode, kind of like Search and Destroy. And then finally, we have the standard Team Deathmatch mode. And with that, that's a pretty good general overview of this game. Like I said, I'm having a blast with this so far, and I definitely see this as... And then finally, we have the standard Team Deathmatch mode. And with that, that's a pretty good general overview of this game. Like I said, I'm having a blast with this so far, and I definitely see this as the game that's going to bridge that gap up until the release of Modern Warfare 2, because there's not a whole lot of other interesting things going on right now, I feel like. And it was kind of the same story last year. I think last year I remember Splitgate. That was the game I was playing leading up to the next Call of Duty. This time around, it's Shatterline, and if you have a PC that can play games, and you don't mind using a mouse and keyboard, I would definitely recommend checking this out. Oh, yeah. Whereas if you don't fall into that category and you're just a console controller player, I'd say it's worth at least keeping track of development here. I'm very interested to see this come to console sometime next year, and as long as they manage to make some pretty significant improvements to the controller support, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with that as well. So there we go, that's Shatterline. I'm going to let some of the raw gameplay play out, just so you guys can take in some of the sights and sounds of this game as well, so it's not just me talking over gameplay the whole time. And I am curious to hear from you guys in those comments down below. If you guys have played Shatterline so far, what are your thoughts on it? And if you haven't played it yet, is this something that appeals to you? Whether you're a PC player that may want to download it and check it out right away, or a console player that maybe just wants to track development, just let me know what you're thinking about this game so far. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Victory is near. Don't screw it up.
Yeah. Wait, how does it know? Okay.
Absolute class.
A miracle of science.
Reloading, 1 second.
victory.
I have got to be very, very particular in how I move. So, pretty much, it seems all ordinary. How are just some FPS players how are some FPS players any better than I am? I'm not seeing any differences here. Jeez. Pro and at any FPS. Yeah, definitely I'm gonna really watch this.
What's good?
I'm definitely subscribing to this. I'm ringing the notification bell. I'm gonna like this because I want to make sure that I learn from this too. Learn from this, yeah.
Hey everyone, BBK Dragoon here with 5 tips to help you improve at any FPS game. These are geared for beginner players, so if you're a veteran, you might not get a lot out of these, but it never hurts to brush up on the fundamentals.
I'm not a veteran, I'm still a baby, even for the number of years that I've been playing FPS, because I've always been on and off, and I still don't get the opportunity to keep remembering what it actually means to be an FPS player. Ah, for Pete's sake.
With that said, let's get into it. Number 1, don't panic and play at your own pace. How many times have you had a friend come over, pick up the controller for the first time, they get into an engagement, and their accuracy goes out the window? It's pretty common with new players when they get overwhelmed to completely lose track of their accuracy, whether if it's on mouse or controller. You can see them start flailing about when pressure is applied. It's okay, it's pretty common with new players. Even experienced players can have their accuracy drop if the pressure being applied to them is great enough. The important thing to remember here is not to panic and to play at your own speed. Oftentimes, new players will try and play a lot faster than what they're capable of. They want to have that perfect tracking accuracy, they want to snap to target immediately, and oftentimes they just don't have the experience to do so. The old phrase, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, is super critical here. That ultimately with practice will lead to speed. But if you're continually trying to play faster than what you're capable of, your accuracy and decision making is going to fall apart when pressured. Experience comes from practicing the right decisions even when you may not win the engagement. New players often don't have the accuracy necessary to outplay veterans. However, they shouldn't try and play so fast that they're no longer even hitting basic shots. So remember, stay calm, make a choice, even if it's not the right choice, and follow through with it. You don't want to panic, you don't want to flail, and you want to just try and stay calm while making a decision. Number 2, stop sprinting into engagements and around corners, and be very careful of sprint spamming. Pretty much all modern shooters these days have a sprint mechanic. There's a few arena shooters that don't, but you want to be very cautious. Anytime games have animations that aren't allowing you to have your gun up ready to fire, it's a disadvantage to use it at the wrong time. Sprinting around corners is something you see all the time with fresh FPS players. You feel quicker when you're sprinting, and you want to get back to the other side of the map or get into an engagement as quickly as possible.
Now I get it. So it's not always a good thing to sprint and then go into aimed at a sight immediately. So rushing it right out the get-go from the sprint is no good. Okay.
But be very careful of this, because a gun down is a missed opportunity, and if you rush into an engagement while sprinting, you have extra animation frames while your gun is getting out of the animation for sprinting and into the ready to fire state. Oftentimes you'll see new players doing the sprint spam, where every time they move, they're making sure that they're sprinting out of it, and this can create opportunities, even if they're 10 frame windows where you're not able to fire. That can be the difference between winning and losing engagements. For shooters that don't have sprint mechanics, just be aware of what animations and what moves lock up your ability to fire at the enemy. Again, a gun down is a missed opportunity. Utilize sprinting with a very intentional set of choices, whether that's trying to get to a specific point or objective on the map, Rotating for a flank, don't just sprint to sprint, make sure there is a clear-cut reason to do so. Number 3, positioning is key. Oftentimes new players in respawn-based shooters will return to the place of their last death over and over.
Okay.
You experienced FPS players know this all too well, because it's very easy to clean up players who are continually trying to get revenge. Stop returning to the place where you last were taken down, and if you're going to engage in that spot, at least approach it from a different flank or a different angle.
I'm really like an idiot right now for actually listening to this. So, remember back in Nisita where I was actually rushing just like that? I keep going to the same place using the same route without thinking I should actually fly from another side. God damn. Okay. Mix it up. Do not just... So I have to mix it up. I should not do the same thing every freaking time, so yeah. Find another way to get to that, to get through a route, or to take a different route and then get to the same place. Yeah.
It can be very tempting to rush right back to that spot because you know that there's action there. However, experienced players are going to predict this, most likely going to know the direction you're coming from if they have a basic knowledge of spawns, and continue to take you out. Don't give the enemy players that free momentum. Utilize all areas of the map and be unpredictable. Smart positioning can overcome poor accuracy, so a lot of times new players will be discouraged saying, I just don't have the accuracy to take down opponents right now. If you are positioned correctly, you can overcome lackluster accuracy if you're in the right place at the right time. This means making smart flanking decisions and not always engaging an opponent in a way that they're expecting. You see really strong Battle Royale players utilizing this all the time. They will flank extremely well and engage enemies who are unaware of where they're being attacked from over and over again. Number 4, don't charge at enemies in a straight line. It can be very tempting to try and close the gap while fighting, and new players tend to do this because if you're closer to your opponent, generally it's a little bit easier to land your shots. But when you push directly at an enemy in a gunfight, the opponent doesn't even have to move their crosshair. This is why strafing is so key. Making sure that you're moving left and right in an unpredictable pattern causes the opponent to have to move their crosshairs and guess where you're going to go. It also forces them to have strong tracking and snap-to accuracy. If you just push at opponents in a straight line, and this happens a lot in shooters with a melee mechanic like in Halo, again, the opponent has the easiest set of shots on you possible because they don't even have to move their crosshair. Remember to strafe and practice your strafing intentionally in your gunfights. Number 5, and probably the most important one, keep your crosshairs at head and chest height. Do not aim at the ground. This is a habit that I see so often with new players where their crosshairs are aimed at the floor. I believe this happens because maybe they think they get a better line of sight and can see easier if the gun model is out of the way. However, this creates more time for you to have to snap to the target. You want to keep your crosshairs aimed where you think the opponent will be. Any time spent moving the crosshairs from the floor to the target is going to be a disadvantage for you. Not only that, it's going to create more situations where you need to snap to the target instead of already being aiming where you think they're going to appear. A good way to catch this habit is to record your gameplay and watch it back. This is a tip that all FPS players should be doing. On PC, you have great free recording options, and pretty much most modern consoles now give you the chance to live stream or record your gameplay in some way.
That's right.
Recording your gameplay and watching it back with a very strategic eye will help you improve rapidly. Look at the gunfights where you lose and identify what went wrong. Oftentimes you can see YouTubers and streamers improving very quickly at new titles because they're regularly getting the chance to watch back their gameplay, to see their mistakes and identify how they can fix them. So there are 5 tips to help you improve at any FPS title. Don't panic, be careful with sprinting, positioning is key, don't charge at enemies in a straight line, and remember to keep your crosshairs aimed where you think the opponent will be, not at the floor.
Okay. I think this is a good video to actually remember. Right, I'll be coming back soon for some more gameplay. I think I got what I need somehow. Somehow, it'll be helpful. Anyway, I will be returning.